Oh boys, I've been waiting for this day for one of these to actually show up out here. But let's hope we can get some manual parts. Yo guys, so I'm like super excited about this. We found a 300ZX with a manual transmission. We're able to source all the parts we need for my 300ZX. Gosh, so 300ZX project. And take a look and see what other pieces we can find, but this is what we're working with. This one's a 93. Okay, so we're at the 300ZX here, and I've got the engine. We're actually gonna pull the engine and transmission out of here, use the transmission, flywheel, all that stuff that we need on the project car back at the house, back at the garage. But here's kind of a look at what's left on this poor car. It's been abandoned a long time ago, finally just made its way out here. We grabbed the shifter and shift bracket because you know that shift bracket's way too expensive, so we'll be able to just repurpose this before we go aftermarket on the cheap. Here comes the rig. All right, well, stupid 300ZX way too tight. We're getting like bound up between the oil pan and basically the oil pan's holding it up. I think the transmission needs to drop more. All right guys, I think she's ready to go out. This is our attempt number 2. I mean, they ain't lying, this thing is cramped in the engine bay. First attempt, I mean, just getting wedged up in there. We're trying to do the engine transmission at the same time, and honestly, some of the exhaust is still there, and it's just so tight. You already know. So I dropped the subframe and just messed with the transmission a little bit, lowered the motor, so hopefully gives us enough clearance. Because honestly, you know how these oil pans are designed, it was getting wedged on that subframe. So wish me luck. Hopefully I'm ready to be done with this. We still got to separate it. I'm not taking the engine, I'm only taking the transmission, flywheel back, and we need to get the drive line. So a couple things we did pick up. I pulled the Z32 MAF. I mean, it looks okay, it's not corroded in there. I'll test this on my car. Pulled another clutch pedal. I have pulled the clutch pedal, pulled the clutch master cylinder. That's the OEM Nissan one. We've got the throttle cable cover. Mine is broken, it's got a little chip, it's missing that right there, so we'll use that to replace on mine. Pulled the glove box because that latch is worth like a ton of money. Mine's okay, we'll just sell this one. Pulled the nose panel because I have a project for a nose panel, and that nose panel is good, it's perfect for the project I have in mind. Then of course our shifter, this stupid retaining bracket that's way too expensive, and then all of our boots and everything. This will just, I mean, this is gonna make this what I was really working on sourcing, is this stuff, and then the bracket that goes on the transmission as well. So we're good. And then if you got a 300ZX, you already know about this clock. I mean, I don't know if this one's a good or not, but we'll test it on mine, see if we get a good clock, or if this is just like all the rest of them. I'm gonna go ahead and pull the manual brake pedal too, just cause you know what, honestly, it doesn't matter, but I'm gonna pull it. We've got some switches here And who knows the condition of those. I don't know if the T-tops were here yesterday or not. Then, I mean, it's looking pretty ran through. It's a good center console lid. I mean, good for what it is. Oh. Gauge cluster. My God, this thing only had 82,000 miles on it, dude. Look at that. 82,000 miles, and it just looked just like trash, dude. Someone just abandoned it with no miles on it. Wow. Dash is cracked. That's a 240 problem, but I don't see them as much on the 300ZX, but this one's just been left out to rot. 2+2, it's got some wheels. All right, hopefully this guy comes out here and pulls this engine for me. Quick. Steering wheel is actually worse than mine. Dude, my God, you guys, this thing ain't no joke, bro. They're tight in there. I got the loader over here having a hard time getting it out. But big up to these guys here. Oh, we got it out. Yeah, this thing's a 10 piles of, you already know, dude. So we'll bust this thing apart. We'll go for there. I tried to save the wiring harness, but how they got it tucked back here is diabolical. To get all this, the engine, there's no way. There's no way. You gotta cut it. I had to cut it. I was trying to save it, but I had to cut it. All right, boys, we got the transmission off here. Here's a look at that bad boy. We're gonna take this wiring harness with us. Manual car, manual wiring harness. Need the dust shield. Flywheel for sure. Take a look at this clutch. It only had 80,000 miles on this engine. And then we got our bolts here with our little. Yeah, I can. Yep. All right, they're gonna come pick up this and take us up top for us. There she goes, boys, up to the top. We're gonna pull this off. It's starting to rain. I'm ready to be done. Been out here for too long. Oh, yo guys, welcome back to the garage. What a freaking awesome day, dude. Like abandoned 300ZX, absolutely amazing find. I did not really have that planned, and it was like boom, here you go. And then we were able to pull all of this. So we got our 5-speed transmission right here with this stupid shifter bracket, which I've been trying to track down. Bent it a little bit coming out of the car, but I've bent that back. But I've been trying to track this down, and this piece is somewhat hard to find, and somewhat hard to find at a good deal, because this isn't really the piece you have to worry about. It's with this style shifter. It's the shifter retaining plate. It's the real thing that sucks here, because like a new one is like 250 bucks, and to replace that with an aftermarket piece is like $100. So if I could find a used one, we're gonna do a used one on the cheap, or we're gonna go aftermarket. But here we go. We were able to score this. If you remember that other transmission I had, the sensors were broke. Well, we've got better sensors right here. We've got the complete manual transmission wiring harness, score. We got the speed sensor, score. We got the transmission mount bracket, boom, score. So this is just how it came out of the car. And then we were able to get like the complete shifter bracket. I think that's just another plate that was there. All of our dust boots. I mean, literally that shifter combination was literally $10. I pulled the clutch pedal. We were able to pull the clutch pedal. I mean, this is a complete swap, boys. And then we've got our clutch master cylinder. Now, usually I would just go with a new one on this, but it was a Nissan OEM one. This car only had 80,000 miles on it. There was no signs that this was bad. It was full of fluid. There was no signs of leakage. So I figured we'd pull this, clean it up, either use it on the car or I might just sell it. We've got our dust shield right here. our access plate right here, all the brackets that we need to mount up to the transmission, to the engine on the lower half, super score. I got all the bolts for everything. We got the flywheel, got all the bolts for the flywheel, all the bolts for the transmission, all the bolts for those brackets. And I mean, I eyeballed the clutch and the pressure plate just to see if it was like new, but it was thumbs down, so I tossed it. Have to get this resurfaced. If you already know, you know. I did leave the drive shaft behind, but I'd probably go back out there tomorrow. I was out, it took way longer than I thought. I ran out of battery power for stuff. I ended up breaking one of the ratchets, which I'm about to go get replaced. And this is why I always buy these Craftsman tools, especially like go to the junkyard, you gotta beat them up in the shop, whatever. I broke this because we were going crazy trying to get some of these bolts off on this car, like the driveline center retaining bolt. This was all I had, and it did the job, but as you can tell, she took a little bit of damage on the way out. So I'm gonna go get this replaced. We'll go head up to Lowe's here in a little bit and get this thing replaced. I'll break it and have a brand new one all in the same day, which that's why I always go with this stuff, because they're easy to replace. Another few other parts we picked up is the 300ZX clock. I know I kind of touched on it. I don't know if this is good or not, but we'll throw it in mine and see what happens. Pulled a suede glove box. This is the same one that's in mine. That car in the junkyard was a 93. It's got a good latch, so probably just clean that up and sell it. And then, nose panel, throttle cable cover, and mass airflow sensor. We'll check this on my car. I'll throw it on there and see if it works. And if it works, then I will actually put it on the 240, because the 240 has a Q45 mass airflow sensor. And although the Q45 mass airflow sensor is larger in diameter, whatever they used to read it isn't as clear as the 300ZX is like the best one. So a nice OEM, and there's only 80,000 miles on this car, so hopefully that's good. And then we got the starter too, because sure, why not have an extra starter? So the only other things we need is a pressure plate and clutch. We need to get the flywheel resurfaced, and I need to square up the drive line, and then gaskets, then a clutch line. We're there. This is the bulk of it right here, boys. And this was a huge find. Like I said, I was not expecting to find this, and it was kind of like, boom, you got to get this right now. And we pulled it. So we'll be able to complete this install very soon. I'm not going to have to wait for any parts. I'm not going to have to drag my heels trying to track down the best versions, but you know, whatever, I'm cheap. So I like to do a budget build, and this is what a budget build is. Sure, we could ball out and order everything, and if you watch that other video, it was like almost $5,000 to manual stuff. Dude, I'm buying a different car for that much money. I like JDM cars because I like to budget build stuff, and that's like where the roots of this are. And if you want, I mean, you can spend a lot of money, but I'm a budget build guy. Power on the cheap. I like to do projects on the cheap. This is it. I'm like super psyched, guys. I'm super psyched. Thanks for joining me on this video. It was not the content I had planned to film today, but it happened. Great deal. I mean, compared to $5,000, this was free. This was really like not that much money at all. It was $200, and I don't want you to think in your head like, oh, I'm gonna go manual sell my car for $200. I was not planning for this to be $200. I had already bought a transmission for $350 that I was waiting to source more parts for. I already bought a clutch pedal for $175. I've already got $500 sourced into parts I'm not even gonna use now. I'm just gonna use all the ones we sourced today because it all worked together. And I was trying to decide how we were gonna do it. So if you're lucky and you look hard enough and wait hard enough, you're patient, could get it on the cheap, but more likely is you'll source some stuff off of different sellers, or you know, go to a shop and then just pay them the $5,000 or whatever. So big up on this one today, guys. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, follow along on this swap coming up for the 300ZX. It's gonna be sick driving that thing. It's been a long time coming. I feel like that's the next thing that has to be done on this car is manual swap. So swap that up, follow along. Thank you so much. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Checking the links for the comments below. You know, all the self stuff help support the channel. I'll see you guys on the next one. We got a project to do for the 300ZX viewers coming up very soon. Peace.